An Impromptu Tea Time. Written by Just Thinking Drabbles. Read by Rashi. You should be asleep. Ferdinand does not jump at the sound of Hubert's voice behind him, and such a feat would feel like a marvelous accomplishment if he did not feel utter exhaustion burning in his eyes. He placed down his quill and turned to Hubert, his body aching as if the action was laborious. Hubert's tall frame was illuminated by the dim light of the lantern, lit by fire magic, and even without being able to see his face completely, Ferdinand couldn't help but note how handsome he was. Indeed, as should you, yet here we both are. Hubert blinked at him, unamused by his remark. You did not receive my orders? I did, but... So then you are simply ignoring them. Ferdinand, we are in the middle of a war. If you are too exhausted to fight, then it could jeopardize our chances at victory in the next battle. Ferdinand bit his tongue to keep from sighing. I appreciate the concern, but I know my own limits, Hubert. I will go to bed after reviewing this report, okay? He turned in his seat once more and picked up his quill, but it was instantly plucked from his grasp. Hey! He looked up at Hubert with narrowed eyes, but it did nothing to sway the man into returning it to him. This subject is not up for debate. You will go to bed now. Hubert leaned over the desk as he spoke. His piercing emerald gaze caused a shiver to run up Ferdinand's spine. Do not speak to me as if I am a child. I will not be so tired that I will interrupt the function of our army, so... Why must you be so thick-headed? This has nothing to do with our army. Can't you see that I'm worried about... His eyes widened, and he stepped backwards like a prey caught within a trap. His grip on the quill tightened, and he turned his gaze to the side in a vain attempt to hide the blush on his cheeks. Hubert. They are quiet for but a brief moment before Ferdinand speaks again. I am tired. Exhausted, actually. But I can't sleep. Not after... Well, you know. Yes. He teetered from one foot to the other, and bit harshly on his bottom lip. It was strange seeing him so nervous. So vulnerable, but not in a bad way. Ludwig had a terrible end coming for a long time. But you didn't deserve that. You deserve so much better than a wretched father and a world ravaged by ceaseless fighting. It should not be you whose mind that memory plagues. I should have ended him when I had the chance. He was my responsibility. There was never any other way that conflict was going to end. Even so, I could have done something to protect you from what transpired. For the first time in days, a smile lit Ferdinand's face. It wasn't as wide or as bright as it normally was, but it was there, and that alone felt like a victory to Hubert. Oh, how he'd miss that smile. That is sweet, Hubert, but we both know there was nothing you could have done. After all, is it not you who is always complaining about my stubbornness? It is indeed one of your most vexing qualities. He smiled then, too, a soft, small thing, and Ferdinand felt his heart flutter wildly. But it is not one I would change in the slightest. Is that a compliment? And from the feared Marquis Vestra, no less. Hearing such praise from you, why, it is enough to make me dizzy with glee. Hubert rolled his eyes, chuckling. Dramatic as always, I see. He set down the quill and traded it for the empty teapot which sat on the other side of Ferdinand's desk. Finish reviewing that last document, then, while I go make us some tea. But afterwards, you must promise me that you will go to sleep. Us? Ferdinand echoed with a raised brow. Well, if you insist on staying up, then I must also do the same, to ensure that you will actually rest afterwards, of course. Of course, Ferdinand replied, his tone teasing. Hubert shook his head before turning to leave. Hubert? He stopped at the entry of the door and turned to him. Yes. Thank you for looking out for me. Hubert sputtered a little, but tried to play it off as if he were coughing. You're welcome. And with that, he went off to the kitchen